Okay, trying to get a video in right before it rains. It looks like it's going to pour down rain here today. Wanted to talk to you a little bit. We get a lot of people asking about questions about, setting up businesses overseas in St. Kitts, and what's the potential of making money, in or from St. Kitts. This has come up a lot, and I used to wonder about it too before I actually went international myself. So I mean, this is a big thing that a lot of people ask, and it's something that I think that a lot of people should think big about before you make a move, because the key is, if you're paying high taxes, that's one thing, but what happens if you move and then you're not making that much money, and then you end up maybe even with high taxes making more than you would have in another place, not paying any taxes. If you haven't thought about that, you should. And one thing I can tell you is when you're making a decision on something like this, you need to look for places where, number one, that has good labor laws, that also doesn't have either a local income tax or it's got a territorial tax system, because you're already ahead of the game if you can get your taxes to zero. I mean, that's 100%. You're going to do better, okay? So you need to be looking for that first. And you need to find out, is your business going to be where you got self-employed contractors that do work? Because I've done that for years. Or are you a type of business where you're going to have a lot of employees? And if you do, you might want to look and make sure that place that you're moving to, if your employees got to be close to where you are with the internet today, you really don't have to have that in a lot of cases. And a lot of times you would be better off outsourcing to a place that has good labor laws, or even, you don't even have to hire the employees directly. You can subcontract outsourcing companies, let them handle the headaches, and they do the work for you from wherever that is, whether it's the Philippines or Pakistan, or depending on where you want to get your labor at. You want to go to East Europe, it just depends. There are loads of different things you have to look at when you're doing that. I've always had pretty good results with Filipinos. If you go to Dubai, you'll notice that the Philippines is one of the predominantly English-speaking group of people that they use. Pakistanis are the other ones. Indians are the other ones. These are places that speak English, but they are used to getting low wages, okay? You're not going to get somebody from, the UK to work for low wages. I mean, it's just not going to happen. They're used to having higher wages. I hate sounding that way, but that's just the way, people look at things. But if you go to Dubai, you're going to see that those three classes, including, you can add Bangladeshis on top, but those four classes, Indians, Pakistanis, Filipinos, and Bangladeshis, those are people that speak English. I would say the Bangladeshi is probably the worst as far as language goes. Their accents are very hard to understand, but they actually have, and they're used to the lowest wages. Now, I found out the Filipinos are the best of that group. They're easier to understand, and remember, if your employees are dealing with the public, this is the public are going to have to be able to understand them too. So, and also, folks, if you want to legally get your income taxes to zero, how to get a second passport as quick as 45 days, do three things. Hit the subscribe button on the right of your screen. You get new videos automatically. We've got over 700 videos. Number two is, I would like to hear from you. If you got a question or comment, put it below. And number three is go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, and ask for some help. Okay, now, if you pick from those areas, I think you'll do pretty good. You can really keep your labor costs down really low. But you don't have to pick, like, for instance, Panama has got really bad labor laws. And I'll be honest with you, I would pick another place to have your employees, even if you pick Panama as your place of residency, unless you've got to have the people in your backyard, close to you all the time. But with the internet, you can do everything with Zoom and everything else, and WhatsApp. But I've never seen that a disadvantage of not having your employees right in your back door. I don't think you really have to have them in your back door. And the key thing is you want to try to keep your costs down low. So what's the potential? Can you make as much money in St. Kitts as you can in the U.S.? Sure you can. Now, it depends on how you do it, though. One of the problems that people have is they spend so much time thinking about taxes, either because they took a tax deduction they knew they weren't supposed to take, or they're in a gray area, so they're worrying about whether it's going to work or not, the deduction they took, or just the fact of doing all the freaking compliance and paperwork. You think about that alone, time is money. That's taking you away from your business when you're having to deal with that. When you're getting away from all that, and you're a U.S. citizen, if you relinquish your U.S. citizenship, or if you're from a high tax country, you just leave long enough to break those ties, where you don't have to pay taxes legally, whether it's Austria, Australia, or whatever country it is, where you're not living in that country anymore, and you're breaking those tax ties, man, it can make a huge difference, Now, it depends on how you do it. St. Kitts, like I mentioned to you before, it's got 40,000 people. Nevis has got 10,000. So you're looking at 50,000 market of people if you're doing a local market. No, more than likely, you're going to make peanuts if you try to depend on a local market here. You just don't do it that way, okay? The people that are making money in these places, like I'm talking about here, these people are doing it outside the country. They're not doing it in St. Kitts, depending on local people here. Now, there's almost 8 billion people in the world, so that's your market, okay? Now, most of those people are in poverty, so, it depends on where your market is and who's using your product or service or whatever it is. But if you're doing the internet, yeah, I mean, you can make as much from here as you can in the U.S. In fact, I would say more, because you don't have to deal with compliance issues and all this kind of crap if you're no longer a U.S. citizen. Even if you keep your citizenship and you qualify for the foreign overseas exclusion, which I've told you before is $112,000 for husband, $112,000 for wife, and then you got, if both of you work, and then you got other tax deductions on top of that. That's $224,000 a year that's tax-free. And then you got other deductions on top of that if you want to keep your U.S. citizenship. That's an option there. Puerto Rico is an option, but I've gone through many videos why I don't think that's a good way to go. You have to look at those videos. I've done quite a few videos on Puerto Rico. You can look that up. But getting your taxes to zero, relinquishing, that's the best way to do it. Better than Puerto Rico, better than foreign overseas exclusion. And then you can concentrate more on your business. And that can save you so much, in headaches and compliance issues when you can get away from that and doing it legally. Okay. Now, like I said, there's 8 billion people in the world. There's 8 billion people, whether you're working from the U.S. or you're working from St. Kitts. But like I said, when you get away from all those other issues that distract you from working, that just gives you more time for your company. But it's very difficult. If you're going to come to St. Kitts, you're going to have a local restaurant, whether it's a major franchise like Subway or Kentucky Fried Chicken or whatever. Your market's going to be limited, like I said. Now, if you want to have one Kentucky Fried Chicken here and maybe have them in other places, islands and stuff, you can do that too. One thing that's neat about St. Kitts and Nevis is once you become a citizen here, you can actually go to all these other Eastern Caribbean states, and there's roughly about 11 of them, and you don't even need a worker's permit. You can just set up your business there, and that adds up to a lot of people when you add up the population of all of those countries. And and you don't have, the governments there are not sticklers on taxes. Even the ones that do have an income tax, they just don't, they're not like hound dogs. So it gives you a lot of, if you want to do a local market, you don't want to do it international, then you have to look at that. And if some businesses You can't, it's very difficult to do things international if you are a, let's say, a mutual fund company, if you're an insurance company, unless it's doing offshore business. But most of those have real strict limitations on what you can do. And in a lot of cases too, in St. Kitts, they make you set up a corporation. And that's a 33% corporate income tax in St. Kitts. They don't have an income tax, but they do have a corporate tax of 33, used to be 35%. So, you know, you're going to have to decide, you know, there's so many things that you have to look at, you know, when you're making a decision on this. But if you're already doing stuff on the internet, man, why are you staying in the US? Why are you staying in Canada, Australia, any other high tax country? It just doesn't make sense to me. I would be going out of that, getting out, detaxing yourself, be out of that country long enough to get around the tax. If you're a US citizen, like I said, you're going to have to relinquish your US citizenship. You can still qualify for the foreign earned income exclusion. That will help you quite a bit. But like I said, it's just, it's more of a clean slate if you're a US citizen just to relinquish, okay? And I've mentioned on many videos, the reason I like St. Kitts better, it's got more visa-free countries than any of the fast-track programs in the Caribbean, as far as comparing it against the other fast-track programs. It has no income tax, no capital gains tax, no estate tax, no inheritance tax. It's close to the US and Canada if you're coming from there. So you're not far away from your family, because a lot of times if you have children that are grown, that can be a problem. You know, if you're moving to Southeast Asia and you got children that are, you know, that are grown and they don't want to come, you know, they've got businesses and other concepts and ideas that's different than yours, then it's going to make a lot more sense to go to a place that's going to be close by. One thing nice about St. Kitts is you can literally, you can pick your area. Like if you've got kids that are in eastern part of the U.S., then you can take a flight, be there in, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 hours, depending on where you're at there. In Southeast Asia, man, you're looking at a day or a day and a half. I mean, it's a long. Hell, I came from the Philippines. It took me 25 hours, you know, to come back. So that's a long buddy trip too, man. I'm gonna tell you something. So you really have to look at so many different variables that's going to work long term, because if you make a boo-boo and you move, you go, I didn't think about this, this, and this. This is not going to work. It's a big thing to get your bags up and do another international move. But like I said, if you're looking for potential and you're wondering, you're in the US, you're thinking, I don't like the taxes here, but, you know, am I going to be able to do this thing abroad? Maybe what you should do is maybe rent for a while, or you can get a place. And what you do is you try it out, you know, and get it going, and then see how it goes from there. That's the best way to do it. You know, the only way you're going to know if something's going to work is you're going to have to take the plunge and just try to make it work and see if you can do it. And the best way to do it, like I said, is to jump in full force and do whatever's needed to do it, and then move from there. Now, some of the things that you need to think about too before you do an international move is do you want to buy or rent when you go to a new place? If you're getting citizenship and you're using the citizenship property option, you know, obviously, you know, you get a property for that. You can get the property. You decide you don't want to stay in that location anymore, you can rent it out and then take off and leave. But if you're doing a residency by investment option and you're going there for a while, let's say it's not St. Kitts, it's just some place that you're trying to get residency in, you might want to rent for a while and make sure that business is really going to, you know, turn out, or maybe it's been successful, but maybe the place you're moving to is not really where you want to go. Okay, and And I'll tell you something, sometimes you can do all your thinking and charting and everything else, and then end up going to a place and then finding out, this just ain't gonna work, okay? But like I said, if you're looking for potential has absolutely nothing to do with where you're going, okay? If you're dealing with an international market, because there's 8 billion people in the world, no matter if you live in the US, you live in St. Kitts, does not make any difference. And this is where so many people get hung up. They don't understand about international businesses. It doesn't make any difference. Now, things that you do want to look at is, there are small things, is internet. Obviously, you're going to have good internet. They've got really good internet in St. Kitts, but that's something you have to look at. Places that have really bad internet, Philippines has got really bad internet. I'll tell you some other places, Dominican Republic, they're probably the 2 worst I've run into. That I've called before where the internet's just not up to snuff. Dominican Republic's probably the worst that I've run into. Why that place just can't pull it together, I don't know why. But they just don't have good internet there. So, but one thing I like about St. Kitts is this, just walking out here, if you buy, you can buy up in Frigate Bay and be right up in these hilltops here, looking over the golf course and the ocean. You just can't beat this. I mean, this is life right here. Just all I can smell is nice salt water. It's got a really neat smell to it. And this is really what you want to, I think myself, I like a place that's quiet. You've got just no air pollution, no water pollution. This is, I mean, you just didn't get any better than this, okay? Now, some people don't want this. They want something that's more hopping, more congestion and stuff. I just don't, I don't like that myself. Everybody's different in what they want. And you don't even have to be here all the time. You can come here, have your business set up, take off and leave. And as I mentioned before, you can actually get citizenship here, setting up a company. You don't have to be here all the time. And then in 14 years, you can apply for the passport. And that's another thing I would be looking for, is if you're looking to relocate to a place, pick a place that's on the passport residency programs that the best fast track, or either the best slow track residency programs to choose from, because ultimately you want to be able to get a citizenship and passport in that country and not have to relinquish your other passports, whether it's a fast track or slow track, like a residency by investment program. These are things you want to look for. And pick countries that have good tax laws. Dual citizenship, they allow dual citizenship. They don't have military requirements for you or your children. You see what's happening with Ukraine. I mean, what is it, 200 people a day, 200 to 300 people a day, they're putting in body bags over there. I mean, it's, man, I feel really sad for what's happening over there. It's just awful. The amount of people that are just dying every day. And makes you so thankful for what you got. You get a bad day, just think about all that's going on over there with the people and their families and the headaches and stuff they're having to go through. No telling for generations how much that's going to be affecting not just them, but their kids and grandkids. Just the stress and strain of all that's going on. So, these are some things that you really need to be looking at if you're looking to try to resettle your business. And you need to decide too, with that business that you got, can you do it overseas? If you're already on the internet, folks, it's a definite 100%. You're just doing stuff on the internet and your public is all on the internet. Why are you staying in a high tax country? I just can't. I can't, that's just a no-brainer. You don't even have to be St. Kitts, but pick a place that's not high tax, and then just move and get it done. I see so many people wait till they get into a rat's trap with the revenue, and then they start thinking and getting their ass in gear. Maybe because the wife didn't want to relocate because she's got friends You know, she's not looking at the taxes, she's looking at the friendship, the ties the kids have, and she didn't want to break it. And, you know, I've seen people go through divorces because of it. It's, but you better, if you're married, you better make sure that your spouse is on your side before you make that move, or you're going to have some real problems. Because I've seen a lot of marriages break up because one party wanted to go, the other one didn't. And then what happens is the wife finally, usually the wife didn't want to leave. It's usually the guy that wants to leave, okay? And then what happens is she ends up going back to where the kids are. And she's there a lot, and the next thing you know, you're separated so much that marriage is going down the tubes. And I like to talk about this because we don't talk about this much. And I'm going to tell you something. You want to ravage your finances, no telling the effects it's going to have on your kids. You better have your plans and everything ducks in a row when you make a move like this. And one of the biggest mistakes that I see guys make, and guys are notorious for this, is they'll try to do all this business planning and crap. They don't get their friggin' wife involved in any of the conversations, none of the education, or very little of it. I've had people that have consultations with us. I'll tell them, you need to get your wife on the phone with me so I can talk to both of you at one time. Because what happens is people just don't do it. And then next thing you know, you're all set and ready to go because you're educated and everything. Your wife, she didn't know what in the hell's going on. And next thing you know, you're ready to go 100%. She didn't want to budge at all. Or she's only going because you're going. And then after you're gone for a while, she's ready to head back to the high tax country again, you see? And these are problems that I see people having. And the next thing you know, there's a split up, man. You've lost half your assets, and then it affects the kids, the grandkids, everybody else, just because you didn't do planning correctly ahead of time to begin with. And I tell people this is so freaking important, is to get your spouse involved, and I would be getting your kids involved. If they're old enough to understand, I would be consulting with them too, okay? Anyway, folks, if you want to learn more on this, go on our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, and just ask for some help. And also, I would like to hear from you. If you got a question or comment, put it below. And folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button at the right of your screen. You get new videos automatically as they come out. We've got over 700 videos there. And I look forward to talking to you on the next video. Take care.